Thanks, listeners, for joining us for Elko Live today here on KELK. And my guest in studio today is someone familiar to many of our listeners, as she's been helping to keep our community safe and, of course, on campus, district-wide throughout the Elko County School District. Anna Bribiesca is an Elko County Sheriff's Sergeant, and she is a supervisor of the School Resource Officer Program. And it brings me great pleasure to have you on the program today. And I forgot to ask you, would you like me to call you Anna, or would you prefer Sergeant Bribiesca?
Anna's fine.
Okay, I figured, because we've known each other a long time. And but Anna, appreciate that you're on the radio with us, and you've been with the Sheriff's Department for some time. Is that right?
I've been with the Sheriff's Department about 12 years.
And did you start out in patrol?
I started off in the jail and then out in patrol, and then the SRO program started, so I transferred into that.
And what made you decide that being a school resource officer was a good fit? It was a new program at the time, right?
Yeah, I just thought it'd be something that I could hopefully make a difference in our community and with our kids. So I applied and got chosen, so here I am.
Well, and you have definitely made a difference, and Sergeant will talk more about the different people who are in your department as well. And Anna, you, after being with the department for 12 years, you've also accomplished something else recently. Tell us about your higher education.
Well, I just earned my master's in social work through UNR.
That's fantastic. Did you do the 2+ program through Great Basin, or the 3+1?
I did. I started at GBC and then transferred to UNR and got my bachelor's, and then took a break for one semester, and then went in for the master's. I think it's a 16-month program, 14-month, one of those two.
And how did that fit with policing?
Well, it's taught me a little bit about people and how we interact, and emotions and drugs and addiction and anything to do with us. So I thought that would be helpful for my profession and later on as well. So I think it's helped me a lot in doing what I do and how I talk to people and understand them.
And Anna tells us that you have a great deal of heart, too, because you obviously would like to deal with people in a way that helps them. Sometimes just going to jail isn't going to solve a problem, right?
No, not at all.
So you've obtained your master's in social work and did that through right here in Elko. And something else that really qualifies you for this position, I think, as school resource officer and supervising the other officers, Anna, is you're also a parent.
Yes. Yeah, I have a 12-year-old, so I get the first-hand experience with that, too.
So we appreciate where you're coming from, too, and a lot of the things that you've been able to see and do. So let's talk about the department, the school resource officers, maybe staffing, and some of your colleagues in the department, Anna.
So the SRO program started in December 2015. It's a combined unit with the Elko Police Department and the Elko County Sheriff's Department. Right now we have 3 city PD officers, and we're supposed to have 4 county deputies. We have Corporal Morrell, Officer Hildreth, Officer Ratliff, Deputy Unruh, Deputy Cortez, and pretty soon we'll be having our other deputy join us. So we'll be full staffed, hopefully when school starts, and we'll all be ready to work our schools.
And how many schools do you manage to visit? This is a vast school district, Anna, right?
So each SRO has 2 to 3 schools assigned, and they try to get to their schools as much as they can. I supervise, so I just go to whichever school calls me, or I go visit, or do whatever it is that they're asked for me to do. So each SRO has their own schools assigned.
And what would you say the role of an SRO is? This is the trick question, because it could be anything given any different day, right, Anna?
Yeah, it's pretty big. We could say we're just school cops and, get to know kids and build that bridge between law enforcement and kids, but we do a lot more than that. We deal with investigations of abuse, child abuse, sexual abuse, down to truancy, just anything that you can think of, we deal with. So it's pretty interesting and fun. And, if we didn't like what we were doing, we definitely wouldn't be there.
Yeah, it's got to be rewarding and challenging at the same time.
Yes.
So a lot of what we'll talk about today, we want to help the community better understand some of the challenges that students are facing, as well as faculty and staff, because I know your job is also to protect them and to facilitate their teaching.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about the challenges in the community and how the community can help. It's part of this program here today. So among the various challenges, it might be different than even 5 or 10 years ago. Certainly people listening that grew up in Elko may not have thought about some of these issues, but now that we're in 2023, there are some serious issues like bullying or food insecurity, lack of support. There are even students going to school who are homeless. Is that right, Anna?
Yes, we do have a couple students that are homeless, and sometimes we don't even know that until it's brought to our attention because of lack of food, or they're tired, they didn't get enough sleep, and their maybe behavior is different in class. So we do have that issue here in our community.
Sometimes being homeless means you're couch surfing. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, couch surfing. We have people that sleep in their cars, hotels. Yeah.
And how young, I guess, would this start, or how early on can a school resource officer intervene? Are you primarily at the middle and high school level?
Our SROs are mainly at our high school, middle school, and Flagview. All the elementary schools are just whenever they get called or for traffic purposes, but mostly they're at the higher schools.
Okay, and so obviously, and that's part of the team approach of the school district and law enforcement, I guess between the police and the sheriff's office, is that you can all work together. I guess the Great Basin Child Advocacy Center might be a good example of that, Anna?
Yeah, I hope when it opens up, it could help a lot more families and with what it's there for.
I know I toured the facility recently with District Attorney Tyler Ingram, and there are lots of designated spaces for different practical reasons, and I thought it was impressive that school resource officers will also have a special office or meeting space where you guys can sit down and do paperwork and interface with this other social workers, and so that should be...
Well, that's nice. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I'm sure once they get you in there and they'll show you around, so
yeah.
Very cool. I guess they call it the bullpen. That sounds familiar, right?
Yes.
Okay. So among the challenges that students are facing, obviously, if a student's truant, would that maybe be a good indicator that there are some other serious issues going on?
Well, I mean, with truancy, it could be multiple things, just kids not wanting to go to school, or, whatever issues they're having that they're not telling us, and we can't help them if they're getting bullied, or, whatever other issues they feel they're having. Some also may be that they don't have a home, so it's a little hard to get to school when you don't get your rest or your meals and all that stuff that's important for us.
Yeah, let alone have a place to study and watch cartoons or play video games. Mm-hmm. So what would the step, I guess, be if someone is truant, and we're trying to also help the community understand that if they want to call and report something, if they're concerned, it doesn't necessarily mean the student or the family is going to get in trouble, right?
No, we've had many community members call dispatch or call us or the school itself and report that, my neighbor child is always outside instead of being at school, and we do go in and talk to the parents, and there might be something else that they might be going to online schooling, or they have other medical issues that they can't go to school, or whatever reasoning, but we do follow up on that and make sure that the kids are going to school.
So that's not a problem if somebody does call if they have a concern?
Yeah. No, it's not a problem.
Yeah, good to know, good to know. And then what about other challenges that students might be facing? Some behavioral health issues, right? Mental health is huge, and I think the parents of this community and the professional leaders, people are really trying to rally behind students and understand some of these mental health, very serious issues. We've been in a crisis with suicide. Yeah,
I've noticed that our community is working together and trying to figure out a way to help our students and families, and that's pretty cool. It's been a while since we've needed that, and it's coming along now that businesses and families want to help. I know the school district is working on having Hope Squad in for the district with all high school, middle school, and Flagview. So hopefully that'll give the students another resource to, seek help or just talk to someone.
I think you were part of that panel discussion, right? Or at least on hand at the convention center at the beginning of the summer?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your takeaway, I guess, to being not only a supervisor of school resource officers, Anna, but now as a master's in social work?
I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. Well, I'm sure it's come in handy with things that I help out in the district and the community. So
it was a good turnout for that event, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good to see people. And I guess since we're talking about it, right, more awareness about the topic of suicide and suicide awareness and prevention?
Yeah, I mean, we've noticed an increase in students, saying that they're struggling with some kind of mental health, anxiety, depression, or even suicide ideations. But what we need to do is just listen to them and see what's going on and not assume that they're just doing it for attention. If you're a parent and your child is telling you I'm sad or depressed, listen to them. We get some parents that tell us they're just doing it for attention, and now we can't help them because a parent doesn't support us. So that's something that I would like parents or loved ones to help their own child when it comes to that.
Suicide is an important topic as we're heading into the school year, and we'll be visiting with the Zero Suicides of Elko County representatives, Anna. I know that those are another of your partners or collaborators in this effort. Taking it seriously, that sounds like the first important step.
Yes, yeah. If our child is telling us that we're sad, yes, they're teenagers or whatever phase they're in, but if we notice that they're acting different or not engaging with us, then we need to ask and not be afraid to ask questions.
Because sometimes it could be temporary. All mental illness can be temporary, right?
Yeah. And schools have programs and resources, but it could only be so much that the schools do, that we need the support from the families as well.
And then another important topic in which some students could be engaging in drug or alcohol use or even vaping, that could be masking some of their symptoms or their problems.
We've seen some students that, do vape or dab or use other drugs or pills. And, if we end up talking to them a little more, find out that they're, upset or depressed and they're trying to mask that. So it does help to see what the kids are doing and what changes they've had.
And then obviously getting school resource officers involved in addiction or abuse problems. Again, does that mean that someone's going to go to jail, Anna? What's the process?
It depends on everything, on the situation. So I can't say, yes, you're going to jail, or no, you're not. It all depends on what's happening and what's going on and why we got called in. As an SRO, we don't get involved with discipline in the schools unless it's criminal. So if the school calls us in because there's some criminal activities going on, then it's up to us to decide and what the whole story of it is, so we can decide what we're doing.
Because you do work with the school district officials, right?
Yeah, we work with all the principals and counselors and teachers. And
so if there's a parent or a caregiver, someone that suspects there's a drug problem or even alcohol abuse, what would you recommend is the first or the best thing to do?
Well, you can always call the school and report it. They know our numbers. They know where we're at. We have a lot of SROs that are assigned to schools, so they could just talk to them in person, or they could stop by at the school and talk to one of the SROs or principals, and we can go from there and look into it. Because
I know in the past, you've been able to administer like a blood alcohol test or breathalyzer, that kind of thing?
If the parent wants us to, we can do that. And we also have drug test kits that we can help parents with. If they need any, they could take them home and test their own kids. So.
Oh, you can help with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's free.
And it's, again, the parent is in charge at that point too. Yeah, which is important rather than letting it escalate. Right?
Yeah, we could give them tests, and they could test their kids at home. And it's on them. They want to share it with anybody.
Okay. And you can take it to your, physician, for example, first. A doctor is a good place to start. So what's the best way to reach the local office of the school resource officers, Anna?
Well, I don't have that number because we're never in the office.
Oh, okay.
I just suggest you call the school, or if you know your SRO and have his or her number, you can always call them. But the easiest way is just call the school that your child goes to and have them get a hold of the SRO, or they can let the SRO know to call you.
That's a really important point. A lot of the work of the SRO is to just dial in pretty quickly on some of the activity and what's going on each campus every school year, right? You guys are on a first name basis.
Yes, we're not sergeants or officers or deputies. We're first name mostly.
That's really nice, Anna, because again, fostering the relationship between students so that they know that a school resource officer is a place to find help.
Yes.
That's why you're, like you said, school cops, but you're also someone to help them find what they need.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're also human, and we like to laugh and joke around, but when time comes, we need to do our jobs as well. So
that's good to know, helping to keep people safe. And speaking of safety, campus security is obviously we're at heightened alert. We had a couple of calls. I think it's called swatting or something. We were included in some statewide and nationwide calls, and it was pretty scary, I think, toward the end of last year, Anna, and I think they can dial in on those things now. So certainly that kind of if it's meant as a prank, it is not encouraged, and there are serious penalties for doing that. But our campuses have had active shooter drills, and we've been doing those for a while, right?
yes, all SROs did one last week. The Elko PD SWAT team provided us with the training, so it was fun. It was interesting and stressful and everything that we're supposed to pretend to do. So yeah.
It was necessary?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we should have these trainings and include the schools and students and everybody, so we're all in the same page when it comes, if it ever happens, and any swatting calls or anything.
And you involved all kinds of rescuers in the effort, right? So people could stage and know kind of what it's like.
Yeah.
So some schools have enhanced surveillance, and we're not going to talk specifics, but I know campuses are working on like closing campuses. Some campuses are remote. I mean, there are a lot of different challenges.
Yes, I mean, we have everything here in Elko County, from Elko High being one of the biggest schools to, Montello or, the smaller schools. So yeah, we're pretty, we have diversity and everything that goes with it.
And a lot of the parents in some of the communities are pretty engaged in their campus security. I guess out in Spring Creek, for example, they're pretty aware.
Yeah, I mean, I think every school has that, and we do get a lot of calls from parents that help us out whenever they see something that's not the normal. We always appreciate those, and doesn't hurt to let us know, and we can go check it out and see what's going on. It could be just some random thing, and could be something else.
So that's important. The community should report things, or what if you find something online? Because we're going to spend some time now talking about the impact of social media. There's a Safe Voice app, right, that parents and students can download?
Yes, that's through the state. Mm-hmm. So it's Safe Voice. It's an anonymous tip that you can report anything that you feel is a threat, or drugs, or anything. So we get those anonymous tips and try to work with wherever we're at, either Spring Creek, Wendover, anywhere in the county, and try to help that person out.
So if you're the kind of parent that you do, sit down with your student, and some children as young as grade school have smartphones and access to social media. And so you as a parent, it's your responsibility, to go through that kind of media and see what they're consuming. So let's talk about that. What kind of impact does social media have on the lives of students? Because you and I went to school when there was no such thing.
No, there wasn't. It was awesome. I think it plays a big role on their mental health and everything to do with the juvenile. Their emotions, they get criticized, they get bullied. They get picked on, everything. It doesn't stop when they go home. When we were younger, once we got home, it was over. We took a break from it, and then maybe it started again the next morning. But with social media, they're just talking constantly, and they're in their rooms, and instead of going to sleep, they're still on social media and taking in that negativity or whatever's happening. So as a parent, yes, we should check and monitor our kids' phones and see what they're saying and doing. And sometimes they get a little sneaky and create fake accounts that you might think that their account, but then they create other accounts. That's something that we see a lot as well.
Meaning sometimes those who perpetrate the bullying could be creating a fake account to do so?
That as well, but also the students.
Okay. So is there any one source in the community? Because I know that, as a parent, it wasn't always easy to navigate social media, right, Anna? I mean, how do parents get information about how to navigate the social media their students are consuming?
I don't know. I don't agree with young kids having social media just because I see how it affects them with not just themselves, but at school and at home. I'm not a fan of it for certain kids or an age group. But if you do have it, I just recommend that they keep an eye on it and what they say and what they do, because they can get into that little dark hole of just going at it and being mean to each other. And, we've had kids that tell each other, you should go kill yourself, nobody loves you. And now that other student's feeling like they shouldn't be here any longer, and then, things could happen, so.
All right, we're talking with our Elko County Sheriff Sergeant Anna Bribiesca, who has plenty of experience in trying to help students, help family members, and navigating these really critical topics that are impacting a student's ability to learn, to be able to focus at school, to be just a kind human being, to help support one another. And Sergeant Bribiesca supervises the school resource officers within the Elko County School District. Another aspect of social media would be the possibility that there could be predators online who might try to target a student.
Yes, we've had some students who've come up to us and said, someone requested money in order of me, exchange for a nude picture or whatever they're requesting, and then they get scared and don't know what to do after that. So we've had a couple of those last school year that we needed to investigate and look into.
So that's known as sexting or a type of extortion, and it doesn't mean that the student is engaged in anything that's bad, or maybe a student has made a poor choice, but it's certainly not something that they would ever have to extract themselves by paying for somebody for this kind of information.
Yeah, I mean, if you do it once, they're just going to keep asking for more and more. We've also had some just kids extorting each other, so it does happen within their own peers, and it's not just that stranger in the computer or on the cell phone that they have no idea who it is.
And plus, we know that cell phones can be a distraction in the classroom. I guess different teachers can actually control the cell phone use, at least while they're in the classroom. Is that right, Anna?
From what I know, there's no cell phone policy in the district, so you should have your phone put away at all times. But, they're kids and they have their phones out, so it all depends on what they're doing and if they get in trouble for it.
So if it becomes a problem in your family and you do need some advice, you can reach out to school resource officers who can probably give you some pretty good advice. And especially if there's threatening information on the phone or anything that's sexual in nature, for example.
Yes, yeah. We'll try, and we'll try to give you some good advice on what to do and help you with you and your child.
So you can contact your school resource officer through your child's or student's campus. That's the best way. And as Anna was saying, the officers patrol Flagview, the middle schools, and the high schools within the community.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see, I think we got to most of those topics, but we did want to talk about something that's really been difficult for your officers in just about every campus. And those are traffic challenges. And tell us about that. You would think that that's kind of obvious. People would want to look out for the safety of children in the street.
I'm sure they do, but I think a lot of people might be in a hurry in the mornings or evenings, and they just want to drop off or pick up and get out of that mess. But we do have crossing guards, and they do need to stop traffic to help the kids cross the streets. We have bus stops that buses need to stop and load up the kids or drop off, and we have some, drivers that sometimes ignore those rules and just drive by or honk or yell at others. And, we have a lot of those throughout the schools.
And there's also a problem from people parking in the wrong places?
Yeah, I guess the red zone is the closest entrance to the school, so they want to park there. You can get towed, and we don't want to do that, but just please don't park in the red zone. That's for other stuff and not for parents who want to park closest to the school.
And we do know that the drop-off and pickup zones might be different in every location. Some of our schools are quite old, and they weren't built for this kind of traffic.
Yeah, I mean, most of our schools are, I mean, before I was even here, and it was a small issue before when we started in 2015. I see there's an issue in every school with the parking and drop-off pickups area, but we all just need to be patient and plan accordingly to leaving our houses or wherever we're leaving to drop off our kids and pick them up so we don't hurt other kids or, get into a argument with someone else, so.
Yeah, that's definitely not good parenting if you've got a whole playground of kids watching you and you get into an argument over, pickup or drop off. So and each school is different. I know that, for example, at Northside, where, my daughter went many, many years ago, they've improved that drop-off area now. So each campus, each school might have a slightly different pattern, but the best thing you can do is become familiar with that and then observe those rules.
Yeah, and we have some SROs that do go and help the elementary schools when they're available, but it doesn't mean that they're there every day. So we do notice a change when there is an SRO helping with traffic and direct traffic and move the traffic along. And then if that SRO isn't able to make it the next day, then it just goes back to no rules again. So, I mean, we all just need to work together and try to respect each other and be safe.
Use common sense.
Yes.
Yeah. I would imagine Flagview gets a little crazy because they've got Boys and Girls Clubs, pick up, drop off. They've got a convention center right there, ball fields. They're looking at putting a different kind of center there, the aquatic center. And so it could get pretty congested there.
Yeah, I just noticed in all the schools, even in Spring Creek, I mean, it might be a bigger property, excuse me, but it still has the same issues of traffic.
All right. So again, just plan ahead, right? Use patience. Try to carpool. I guess that's always one of the options. And then do not pass school buses. That's the other thing. We should probably give school bus drivers a nod, Anna. If a school bus is stopped, letting students off, you're supposed to stop and wait behind the bus, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, until they're done and then they move and then you can follow.
Because I think most school buses, if not all, but don't they have their own stop sign that actually comes out? Okay.
Yes, yep.
Yeah. So that means stop. That doesn't mean blow past them. That doesn't mean pull around them. It doesn't mean it means stop and wait.
Yep.
Okay. Because you don't know where the students are going. They may be crossing the highway. They live in a rural area, or they're, in Spring Creek, the bus stop is on one side or the other, but don't drive around the school bus.
Yes, please don't.
Yeah, please, because it simply endangers people's lives. Yeah, and you can get a big ticket for it, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So there we go. We got the mention of a ticket in, at least there anyway. So now we want to spend a little time before we get ready to sign off. This is a new school year beginning August 28th, and students and teachers at now all the Elko County School District schools will be going 4 days a week. So tell us how that's going to impact school resource officers.
Not really. I mean, we'll still work the school schedule and it'll be longer days, but we've done that in the past. We're off on Fridays just like everybody else, but we also work games that are, scheduled home games, so we might not have a day off. It'll still be the same. We're still working and we love what we're doing. So if they give us a 4-day or 5-day, we'll still be there.
Well, that's impressive. And that the fact that you're on hand for athletic events and activities, right? And other school events, whether it's homecoming or, right?
Dances, games, whatever events they have. If they need an SRO, then we try to accommodate that and make it work. And
we see that, Anna, it sort of comes throughout the department. For example, at an Elko High School game, you might see the sheriff. Sheriff Aitor Narvaeza might be at the game, and he's not necessarily in uniform, but he's there, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have a lot of our administrators from both the city and the county that show up randomly, and they do their thing, and it's always good to have them there and the community to see them, that they're part of the school also. And our police chief, Tyler Troughton, I believe his wife is an educator, so that helps create some understanding, right? Yeah. I believe the undersheriff's wife also is a teacher, so we, on both sides, we have bosses that their wives are teachers. So. And I remember Sheriff Narvaeza talking about this over the summer, Anna, when we had one of those SWAT calls, swatting as in a prank call, to Elko High School last year, how he
raced to the school with his heart in his throat because his daughter was graduating that spring. So, and she's graduated now, but he had a child at the high school too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small community. If we don't have our own child in school, we do know someone, and it does affect all of us, and we want to make sure that our kids are safe and protect them, and as well as the staff.
And one last mention too, for those contemplating the 4-day school week. Again, school begins on August 28th. School day start and end times will vary at each campus. So the most important thing is to get information, get in touch with your school's campus to find out the school's start and end times. And then there are some opportunities for Friday meals and enrichment on the campuses, I guess at Carlin, Jackpot, Owyhee, Wells, West Wendover, Sage, Southside Elementary. And they'll be doing some enrichment opportunities like tutoring, but they'll also be serving meals at those schools, right, Anna?
That's what I've heard, yes. I'm not really involved in that part, but yeah, that sounds really good for those kids who need help with tutoring or meals or anything.
And that might also be an opportunity because parents are invited to be on campus too, from what I understand, on Fridays to drop by for meals and to visit. So if a parent sees a school resource officer, that's going to be an officer in uniform, right?
Yes.
They can just kind of come up and introduce themselves and strike up a conversation, right?
Oh yeah, we all like to talk, so you can come up and say hi to us and talk, and we'll be there.
And I think that might impress the kids too, right? Because they say, oh, mom or dad is talking to the school resource officer. What's up with that?
Yeah,
right?
I mean, even if you're a student, come up and say hi to us. We like talking, and we want to know how you're doing, how your classes are, and what's fun and what's not. So we do have a lot of kids that come up to us, but they also probably already know us because they started, just saying hi to us. And next thing you know, here we are talking more than the normal. So we do have a lot of kids that come up and say hi to us, so that's pretty cool.
And it's very cool. And I know that you personally have inspired some young people to pursue maybe social work, but law enforcement as a career. That's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've done that for them. You've also protected our community, and the fact that you went above and beyond and obtained that master's degree in social work, that means a great deal to the parents and the educators and administrators, as well as those in law enforcement throughout the community. So thank you for putting yourself out there that way. You paid for your education and you put in the hours, and your family supported you in doing that too. So,
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being on the radio today. Do we get to all the topics you were hoping to?
I think so. I think we got everything. If not, I'll get a hold of you.
All right. You can come back, or you can also send one of your others, school resource officers, since you're the supervisor.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your being available today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Elko County Sheriff Sergeant Anna Bribiesca, supervisor of the school resource officers, and a school resource officer is likely on a campus with your students. Find out more about that and do a little outreach and help support school resource officers in our community as it's time for back to school on August 28th. Thanks, listeners, for joining us for Elko Live today here on KELK.